Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. My virtual obsession, my romantic thriller, is now available on Amazon and other online retailers. This book explores the intersection of loneliness, love, and how chasing perfection through technology can lead to fantasy and reality colliding. My virtual obsession out now.
Hey everyone, it's Catherine Crestani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I'm joined by the lovely Dr. Shirley Piccarreto. So she is a doctor of naturopathy, a best-selling author, a yogi, and a certified herbalist. So a big welcome to the show, Dr. Shirley.
Hey, thanks for having me. You got the name right and everything together, so I appreciate you for having me. Thank you so much.
So what does it mean that you're a doctor of naturopathy, you also have a best-selling author, you're a yogi, you always wanting to work in naturopath and natural kind of alternative ways to heal our body, or what was kind of your journey there?
With a lot of people in this field, we have our own issues. There's usually something goes on. So for me, I was quite young in my early 30s and I had very severe anxiety and I had panic attacks. And back then, long time ago, the name wasn't even heard of. No one even knew what that was. And so I go to the doctor like, oh, Shirley, you're fine. And I did teach fitness. I've always been physically healthy, but I had 2 little kids at home and I was not okay. And go to the next doctor. You're fine. Get all the blood tests. You're fine. You couldn't be healthier. Send me to the heart monitor. Then it was off to the psychiatrist. You're fine. So anyway, this was all driving me crazy. And I ended up serendipitously going to a bookstore. I found a naturopath in my area, went to see him, and he explained about how I needed B vitamins and that my adrenal glands were burnt out. And here's some meditation to consider. And yeah, so it was really about 6 weeks or so. And I had like, wow, I knew there was something amiss and he had really nailed it. So it inspired me to be like, okay, well, if natural medicine is helpful for anxiety, what about for digestion or for a bad knee or acne? And so that's when I went back to school. So I've certainly had other healing journeys along the way. It's been a lot of years, but yeah, that was my initial inspiration.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up, that it's often something that we go through that leads us down these paths, right? Because,
Yeah, definitely.
and I think you bring up another really important point, which is that a lot of the time we turn to alternative medicine or alternative paths because the mainstream's not listening.
No, they absolutely are not. And, just to, you kind of put it out there, I am a real big fan of emergency medicine. I mean, if someone has a heart attack or stroke, I mean, in North America, it's just 911. Someone's in your driveway. That's all good. But for all the other things, the energy, the sleep, the digestion, the moods, all that can all be handled naturally. And I work with a lot of women, my age, and it's kind of like there's a real dismissive going on, a dismissiveness, and also wanting to kind of bucket it like, well, you are 40, well, you are 50, well, you are 60, and this kind of whole thing. And they just don't know, they just don't know what to do. Yeah, women end up, I think especially like kind of feeling shamed, into a lot of this. So yeah, the work I do, I feel is important for the healing, but also for the mentally, to help people to know that yes, no matter your age, you can absolutely feel much, much better.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting point. I was on a panel a few months ago where we were talking about this, how women often their ailments get pushed to the side, or it will be put down to age, or it will be put down to oh, it's just because you're tired, when in reality there's some sort of imbalance underlying. And sometimes, like you said, when you first saw a naturopath and you needed the B vitamins and a few things, it can be that simple. Even I've had a lot of friends go through morning sickness, and I'm like, you could just go get a vitamin. It would help balance that out, right? Like it just means your
Yeah.
body's really low on a certain vitamin, but they'll just put up with it because apparently that's what is expected, and that's the norm.
Yeah, the suffering, if you will, or again, with people just not wanting to maybe not wanting to, but like doctors take on this, really authoritative role. And well, what do you know about bee pollen? What, there's no proven science and just kind of this whole positioning. But I do see, more people, of course, your age. I have a lot of, clients in their 30s. I have clients in their 60s. I have clients in their 70s, and it's like everyone wants to feel better. And my work is I do detective work. I have a body scan center. So I'm always trying to find out what's wrong inside. Are the vitamins low, or is the adrenal glands weakened, or is the liver full of chemicals? Is there parasites, candida? What is that? So when I get this testing, and I can work with that and with the client what their desires are, and then we put a program together to create a balanced situation naturally.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up that, because our bodies are all unique, right? All our bodies are
Yes.
unique systems. What works for one person doesn't work for others. This is why I don't agree with people being on a certain diet all the time, because our bodies needs also escalates and changes based on our cycles, based on our hormones, based on whatever we're exposed to. There's so many levels where that keeps coming back to how that shows up in our lives.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things sometimes people are so surprised. I had a woman, last week, and we were seeing like a lot of fertilizers and things in her body, and her scan was showing up. And as I explored it, she says, well, I'm kind of, my property is adjacent to some farmland and some apple orchards. And, so there's a lot of spraying going on there. So that was one of the things, that was showing up. And then I had another client, and she was showing different, kinds of fertilizers, even specifically naming, but she's a real avid gardener. So that's, something that she's exposed to. So yeah, kind of putting that all together and cleansing the toxins out of the body, balancing hormones, cleansing the liver, making sure vitamins are up, and, doing our mind body work too. It's not all pills. We've got to do our own personal work along the way.
100%, because a lot of people don't realize that when our body's expressing something, unless, you have to eliminate the toxin element of things too. But often when our body has like a clogged liver or our lungs aren't working properly, we have to find that underlying emotional center
Absolutely.
that is, you know, and I always say, be grateful for the pain and that your body's expressing that way. Otherwise you'd be dead because,
Yeah, yeah,
because
that's
you're being,
yeah.
yeah, otherwise you've been
Yeah,
ignoring your emotions for so long. Yeah.
absolutely. And if we ignore for too long, then all kinds of things, can happen. But I mean, the liver sounds like, it's like, people are angry and can't sleep from 2 to 4, have adult acne, and, are out of whack. Lungs are usually, related in Chinese medicine to grieving. And, there's all kinds of things that we can discover and work through as we strive for that balance. But they're all teaching moments, as you say, too. I mean, when things have happened to me, whether it was anxiety, years ago, or I had some difficulty with, joints and surgery and broken bones a few years ago. And I always think, okay, I'm going to learn from this. Of course, I'll be able to teach people kind of what I went through, and then how to maybe shorten that cycle of how to get, from A to B. So even though it's not usually that when things happen, there's always our own personal lessons. And then if we do certain work, we can share those with other people too.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. It's really interesting because a few years ago I broke my big toe, but there was lots of signs and things. Anyway, there's a story there. But I used I was taking comfrey and doing arnica and doing like light therapy, doing all the things that I tell people to do. And I was back at Pilates within 2 weeks, and they're like, didn't you have a broken toe? I said, yeah, I still got a broken toe. It's just
Yeah,
I did
yeah,
all the natural things that I tell people to do. It's just like
yeah,
it's fine. Like I'm not
yeah.
going to go put all my weight on my toe, but at the same time, it's still repaired enough and healed enough that I can keep going and doing what I need to do in
Keep
life.
moving. Yes, absolutely. After my surgeries and that, and I was so down and out, being able to and I'm a yogi, and so that was my thing, wanting to get back to that. And I really, when I was in it, I'm like, wow, am I ever going to walk again? I had asked my partner Mark, like, could you take me for a ride? Because I was like a dog. I just wanted someone that he'd take me out, and and he'd do all the grocery shopping, and I'm a big traveler. I'm usually gone, 5, 6, 7 weeks out of the year. I'm like, am I ever going to travel again? And all of that's where the mental difficulty comes in. But yeah, just kind of pushing through that too, and getting down on the floor and starting with some movements and getting back up. And my body's completely healed and I feel pretty amazing. There's a wonderful path that we can take for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And I love too that you focus on working on with people over 50 because a lot of the time there's that whole I've had a few guests on talk about the ageism thing, right? Oh, you're just old. That's what your
Yeah.
body's meant to feel like. And I just laugh when people tell me that because I have an 82-year-old homeopath. I'm like, I
Wow.
don't think
Love
so.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote an article not that long ago on Substack. I'm like, when did age become a diagnosis? When is that like, well, we're all of that, kind of thing. You're 50 or 60, all of those things. I remember I had a client in my office many years ago and she was like, oh, my head, my back, well, she was, well, I'm 32. I'm like, okay, we got a little bit of a ways, to go, but it can start very young where people, start worrying about things or aren't feeling well. And things have changed a lot as well, too. There's a lot more exposure, whether that's, chemicals or elevated, stresses and, all of those things, too. It's not an easy path for most of us.
Yeah, and at the same time, you want to be proactive about your health too, right? Like I always say, stop waiting
Absolutely.
till you're in a crisis to get help. Actually, stop it before it gets to that point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think what they find typically is men will take action. Like if the doctor says, hey, you need to lose 40 pounds, or, their friend comes up and, like, of course, men can only do this. They poke each other in the belly. Hey, what's this? Would you gain like 20 pounds? I mean, can you imagine saying that to a woman? And women, are more motivated by a wedding, a reunion, a trip, a bikini, all of those things. Is more the emotional kind of a thing that comes along, and that can be more physical and looks and such. But it can be hard to start, and there's a lot of information out there, of course. And it can be hard to without a guide, a homeopath, or someone like myself that's going to be able to take you by the hand and kind of show you the way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And sometimes people think that we can do it all ourselves and we're in this age of let's just ask Chat GPT and let's
Yeah,
ask for all
yeah,
this support. But I want to emphasize chat can be wrong on so many
yeah,
levels.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And I used, chat a lot, probably more for business and marketing, than my health and such. And I do think there's some good aspects of people like, with not necessarily counseling, but being able to quote talk, to somebody. I think that can be a little bit of a helpful starting point, at least get someone trusting in the right direction. But yeah, yeah, there's a lot of choices out there and, yeah, can everyone figure it out online? Yeah, you could figure it out, but, do you really want to? And how do you trust? How do you trust what's, the right way to go for you? And that's why this body scan that you do, I feel very confident, with because I can see 100 different markers of what's going on inside the body. And let me do the med history and like, okay, I can see within 10 minutes, what the issue is. And that makes me feel happy to be able to give people that not just support, but peace of mind. And I always tell people I don't talk about anything that I don't have a solution to. I'm not going to say like, "Oh my goodness, you've got parasites." Like, I don't know, what are we going to do? I'm gonna put them on a program. So I have a lot of confidence, a lot of years, doing this kind of work.
Yeah, and I think too it's sometimes nice to remember that when we can talk to somebody, when we can talk to a human, we can get to those deeper layers as well. Whereas AI just kind of takes what we give them on a surface level rather than going to like, unpacking those deeper levels. Like you said, like how are they to know you have parasites? You might put in the symptoms and they'll give you something different. Whereas if you're doing like a body
Absolutely.
scan or you're doing the testing, then it allows you to get that deeper insight into who they are.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always use an example like when our liver is stressed, which most people have a stressed liver because of all the toxins and chemicals and all that kind of thing. But I mean, liver can cause you to be up between 2 and 4 nights. So you're talking to a GP about that. Liver stress can cause, adult acne, and also you're at the dermatologist and constipation. Then you're going to go see the gastro gal, and then your moods are off and you're feeling sad, and then that's somebody else. And it's all these portions and pieces of you. And really, if you fix the liver and you get the body cleaned out, all of that stuff will dissipate. And so that's where getting to the source, can really save a lot of time, but also make a very proactive path too.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel too that a lot of the time if you have that, I teach people, like, if you have that intuitive hit or that inkling, whether you're talking to somebody and it doesn't feel right, to honor that and to follow where that curiosity takes you. And it might lead you to a naturopath or alternative medicine or, Chinese medicine, whatever it might be. But don't dismiss your own feelings. It's like, my body doesn't feel right, and I'm just not going to accept a diagnosis that doesn't feel alignment. I feel there's something more. And it's different from hypochondria. It's honoring, like, no, there's something else going on with me. I need to get to the bottom of this because I know this isn't how I feel normally, or this isn't how I feel in my body right now.
Yeah, and that our emotional guidance and physical guidance system is the most accurate and true alignment that we could consult. For most people, it's then trusting that or following the breadcrumbs, as you say, or hearing this and going here and learning that, and all of a sudden, you're on a path. But yeah, I absolutely agree. Our bodies, ourselves, we know where we are and we know what we're up to. So it's finding that path and kind of doing what we can to live the life we want to live.
Yeah. And tell us about your book, Dr. Shirley. What is your book about?
Oh, my book is,
Your
I
books.
just wrote an article about it yesterday because I wrote this book. My partner and I, Mark, have lived together about 20 years, and I wrote this book. And I never told him we had a big house. So I was like in the other room and everything. So I was just celebrating the book because the book is 10 years old. It is Healthy, Lean, and Sexy at Any Age. And so it's a book all about, all of the things, whether it's, the cleansing, whether it's, the weight, whether it's, how to work with different, herbals, foods and meditation, all that. It has a lot of my travel stories woven in there. But yeah, it ended up being a bestseller, I think, in 5 or 6 different countries. So it was a nice period of time for me. It's all very relevant still because they kidneys don't change and the saliva doesn't change too much. So it is on Amazon. It's free on Kindle. So yeah, that's a nice thing that people can read and get an idea of what a natural lifestyle really is like.
I feel like we try and overcomplicate it, right? Whereas actually, I found, since choosing more natural alternatives, it's actually easier. Like going to the shops, I only go down 2 or 3 aisles.
I
You
know.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same. And as I said, we travel. We just got back from Vietnam. I've been home about 2 weeks, but everything is so fresh. I mean, you order a chicken, man, they're going out in the back and they're bringing the chicken in. You know what I say? That all the food is all in season and it's everything is freshly spiced and it's just you might wait 45 minutes for a meal of noodles and vegetables and fish or whatever, but it's all been just lovingly made from scratch, and it is just such a joy for our bodies and for the experience as well too.
And how amazing is that? Like, that is the ultimate guide to fresh food, right? Like, that, you can't get any
Yeah,
fresher than
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have decent food here in the US, but so many things are allowed here that are not allowed. And even all the home products, and we have these Glade plugins and Febreze sprays and Dawn dish detergent. They got little ducks like doing their marketing, which they do a nice job. I mean, I kudos for you. The ducks are cute, but people think it's a good product. It's not, And same thing with we're very obsessed with cleanliness and the Windex, the spray, the cleaners, and all that, or all those things are so toxic and they're cumulative, as well too. But yeah, even the dyes of foods. My kids, when they were little, since they're probably 3 and 5, no colors, no dyes, and they grew up that way and they're fine now. But I remember my daughter, like, why am I the only kid in first grade that has brown bread? And my son, why did we went to Catholics? Why did God put red dye in the raspberries? Because he thought he couldn't eat those, and so it was a little over the top, this kind of stuff. But I was always just very vigilant, with them, and they have strong, healthy bodies, and raising their own kids that way. Sometimes it takes strong parenting as well too.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we've raised my little human that way, my son, and he'll go to a party and not touch the lollies, and the parents are like, "Why isn't he eating the lollies?" I'm like, "Because he knows what's in them."
Yeah, yeah,
And even he found it really hard to metabolize sugar. So he'd go incredibly angry and violent. And so we cut sugar out of his life really, really quickly. And people are like, oh, but doesn't he miss out? I said, no, we just found alternatives. Like we found probiotic lollipops that have no sugar in them and are actually good for his gut. Or we found like, swapped out chocolate. He hasn't missed out on anything. And in fact,
Of
he's
course, yeah.
probably healthier and wiser because of that. And even we would have a birthday party for him, and we'd stick to our thing. Like people are like, oh, you don't use sugar. Why does the cake taste so good? We're like, we put maple syrup and honey in.
Yeah.
You can do
Yeah.
that, and even, oh, what's in this cleaner? Eucalyptus oil. And what else?
Yeah.
Water.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So
Well, good for you, Mom.
it,
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
it doesn't have to be complicated. And, even there's this belief that organic food's really expensive, but it's where you get it from. So we get it directly from a farm, and we've
Yes.
found, we get 2 massive boxes. And if we went and bought the equivalent, like cost wise from the shops, we would walk away with less than 2 bags. So this is where you just
Yeah.
have to be innovative and find ways to make those replacements work for you and your family.
Yeah, I agree. We get our meat also, from a farm in the summer, of course, from the fruits and the vegetables and all that is, just lovely. And people think they don't make a difference, but it does. Grass-fed beef is just, fabulous. I agree with you.
Yeah. But even if you're unwell, so my husband was really unwell, and the practitioner he was working with, she was testing him on all the foods that he eats. And she's like, usually these don't test up as okay. She goes, but I think because you're having the organic versions of them all, they're okay, because his body wasn't fighting to detox the pesticides and everything else that goes into them as well. So it
Right.
helped him. He actually could eat more than what a normal, like what most people seeing this practitioner would eat in his same
Yeah.
circumstance. So it's people like you, circling back to the liver, like you brought up before, a lot of people don't realize the load that puts on the liver, constantly having to detox those extra layers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, things in the air. A lot of women are, of course, natural. I didn't stop all that long ago. Dyeing their hair. I mean, and, of course we want to look good and feel good, but then you just want to do like a light detox afterwards. So all of that doesn't just, absorb into your skin and, start filtrating around your bloodstream.
Yeah. And a question that just popped into my head, do you find that women's hormones are affected a lot by pesticides and toxins and those sort of exposures?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm teaching a 6-week course that starts on Wednesday, and a lot of women work a lot with the bioidentical hormones. So we'll work with, balancing the hormones. We'll work with cleansing and do some intermittent fasting and all of that. But yeah, and women just don't understand how good they can feel if they can get that balance. And they've been taught here in the United States, like, oh, hormones are dangerous. And this has just, been flawed study after flawed study. Is I really am like kind of beating the drum on a regular basis for these natural hormones, and then balancing, of course, with with the toxins and the cleansing and all of it together. It's not just one piece of the pie, I mean, it's just all of the things, like you were saying. But yes, especially with the women, I work with over 50. Everyone, of course, is low on progesterone, and we want to make sure we have our DHEA, and yeah, and that everything's working in good order. And I think people are so surprised at how good they can feel, and they just they can sleep through the night, they can have energy, they can be pain free, all of those things. But they just, most people don't know. So I always feel excited when I all my clients that are kind of going down that path. It's good work.
Yeah. And it's needed work. So thank you for doing that work, Dr. Shirley.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And as we start to finish our time together, I ask the guests that come on the show, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
The food supply. Yeah. I think everything would stem, from there if there was, only good food and only fresh water, and, there wasn't these other poisonings. And we even have sugar in our ketchup here. You know what I mean? It's like there's just things are out of whack. So yeah, I think if we could, start with our food supply, and of course there's another list of 10 other things, but yeah, that would be number one.
Yeah. I so agree with you on that because even, we've been so trained for convenience, right? Over questioning what's in it. And this meme popped up on my Instagram the other day, and he had natural butter right in his hand, like organic butter. And the food star rating had given it 2 out of 5. And in his other
Oh,
hand, right, it had margarine, which they'd given 5 out of 5. Now, if anyone's aware of what's in
wow.
margarine, it's one ingredient away from being plastic. So,
Yeah.
and he said in this meme, he said, "Oh, yeah, great. Thank you for this star system. I'm going to go poison my child with all these chemicals instead of giving them just the healthy fat." So this is
I
the
know.
shift that's starting to happen, but you need to question.
Yeah, during when I
Yeah.
was, I forget how old, but they came out with these fat-free cookies. There's this brand called Snackwells, and the thing was, of course, fat doesn't make you fat, but they were full of sugar and full of chemicals. So people aren't eating one or two; they're eating a whole sleeve. They're eating a dozen cookies because there's no fat in them, and the marketing is and the psychology of the marketing is always been fascinating, to me with the food companies.
Isn't it? It's so fascinating. And when you don't, because we don't, and if people want to find more about your courses, Dr. Shirley, or come and connect with you or read your Substack, where's the best places they can go?
Yeah, my website is drshirleysays.com. I do have a PDF that's free that's on there's 15 ways to tell that your body is out of balance and that most people will ignore. So it's drshirleysays.com. And also, my information about my body scan is on there and different classes I may have. So that's the main hub right there.
Beautiful. And I'll make sure to pop all those details in the show notes for you. So thank you, Dr. Shirley, for being on the show and
Thank you.
sharing your insights into that you don't have to accept your current health state. You can change it and feel good again in your body.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me.
And for anyone listening to this episode, if you enjoyed it, please feel free to like, follow, or subscribe, or go check out Dr. Shirley's work because we love people interacting with us. So thank you so much for tuning in. And until next episode, have a beautiful, happy, healthy life.
Are you looking for an afternoon boost to support you until the children go to bed or to get through that evening meeting? Why not reach for a cup of ceremonial cacao? It will boost your energy, reduce your inflammation, and also allow you to go to sleep at a decent hour. For more information on how to grab your ceremonial cacao, check out the link in the show notes for 10% off.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.